So you can see the drapes right now. So that is actually draping nice and beautiful. So that is how to go about this abaya. Okay. So it's a trendy cowl abaya, as you can see right here. Looking gorgeous and beautiful. You can actually use it for any occasion. It looks gorgeous, simple and yet gorgeous. You can see it. This is what it looks with the v-yoke line well embellished. This is looking nice and beautiful. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, please stay tuned to the end of this tutorial. Thank you. Welcome back to Same Right Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. So in this class, I'll be teaching you how to make this trendy abaya you are seeing right there on the thumbnail. So right there on the thumbnail, you can see that beautiful abaya with a V-yoked neckline. So I'm making use of 3 yards of silk fabric. I'm using 3 yards of silk fabric by 60 inches or about 62 inches, and I have half yard of my silk plain fabric to combine this abaya dress. Okay, so the abaya we are really making is a trendy abaya. It's a new style, and I'll be showing you how to achieve it in this class. So I'll be working with the abaya 3 yards right now. So I'm going to place it on the 3 yards. I'm going to fold the 3 yards to form unfold. So when I place it on fold, I'll be having 1.5. Okay, on this line I'm holding now, this part is on fold. I'll be having 1.5. So I'll actually arrange it properly. Okay, so it has some beautiful designs on the hemline and on the upper line. Okay, so I folded it into 2, as you can see. So I just put these 2 together and hold it down here. I'll also hold down the tip, and then I'll fold it again, okay, to meet the part that is folded, as you can see. So I'll actually arrange it right now. So I've arranged it on fold. I folded it again, so they are all on fold now. So you can see what I have right here. Okay, so the part on fold is going to serve as the center back and the center front. But right now I'm going to refold it the same way I folded it. This is the front pieces. I was supposed to fold it to the back, so I just turn it to the back because we are going to mark our chalks on it. So with our chalk line, we don't need to mark chalk line on the front piece of this dress. So I'll quickly turn it over to the back again. So what I'm doing now is repeating the same process I did. My 3 yards, I fold it first to 1.5, and I'll fold it again to make it 4 pieces. So I will arrange it again, then we'll start cutting right away. So right now I'm done folding back to the back. So what we have right here is the shoulder line. So from the shoulder line, I measured from the shoulder, I measured my waist, shoulder to waist, which is 17. I added 1 inch to it because I'll be seaming and cutting with 1 inch. So if your shoulder to your waist is 17, do 18. If it's 18, do 19. So here you can see I've already drawn my line of my waist. Okay, so that is the line of my waist, and from my shoulder again, from the shoulder again, I measured my hip. So for the hip, I just have my hip measurement exactly at my hip measurements. Okay, so this is my waist plus 1 inch, that is shoulder to waist plus 1 inch. This is my hip, exactly my hip. Okay, so sorry about the chalk. I'm using the chalk, the same color of chalk for my fabric. Okay, so I've taken shoulder to waist plus 1 inch, and I've taken hip measurements, shoulder to hip, and the next line is shoulder to knee line. So you need 3 lines. So what I have here now is shoulder to knee line. Okay, so now we are done with the vertical measurements. So the next thing we want to start taking now is the shoulder measurement and the neckline measurement. So this is serving as my center front and my center back. So I'll go ahead to measure my shoulder measurement. So make sure you have your fabric edge at the same line. So from the center front, I'm going to measure my shoulder. My shoulder divided by 2 is 7.5. So this is my mark of my 7.5. And then I'm going to measure from that point I marked 7.5. From this 7.5, I'm going to measure 10 inches. Okay, so this is my 10 inches. This is my shoulder line. This is my 10 inches. Okay, so the rest of what I have here should be about 8 inches. So you can also measure 11 inches or 12 inches if you're on the plus size. After your shoulder measurement, you measure 12 inches and then you have the rest. I believe this is understandable. So after taking the measurement of my shoulder and 10 inches added to it, I'm going to work with a neckline of 4 inches by 2 inches. So I'll mark 4 inches right here, and I'll mark 2 inches for the back neckline. Okay, so once I've marked that, I'll go ahead and connect. So I'm connecting my neckline for the back right now. From the 2 inches I marked, I'm connecting it all the way to the 4 inches. So please, you need to be careful when working with silk fabric. As you can see, the silk fabric is wobbling up and down. So you have to be very careful your neckline does not shift or wobble. If possible, you can even secure that part with your pins. So I'll just go ahead and secure them with my pins. This is the back and front neckline, which I told you I used 4 by 2 to 2 inches to connect for the back. I cut both front and back, but I'm going to separate the front pieces to cut my desired neckline. So I hold it with my pin because I'm working with a silk fabric. So the next thing I'm going to do now is, after making my marks, the end of this part. From the end of this part, I'm going to connect my scallops, abaya scallops. So the first one I'm going to connect now. I'll come over to the waistline. On the waistline, I'll mark 3 inches. So I'll mark from this end 3 inches. Okay, so from this end I mark 3 inches. So from these 3 inches, I'm going to make a curve. Of course, you can see I tried making a curve, and I'll allow that curve to connect straight to the beginning of this. So once I'm done connecting that one, I'll come over to my hip line. For my hip line, I'm going to measure 6 inches inwards, and then I'll mark. So once I've marked, I'll come from that point as well. I'll just make a mark, a curve, and that curve I'm going to direct it to the first one. So it's just like a scallop. It will keep moving from here to the next one, as you can see me marking that way. So once I'm done, the next will be the knee line. So on the knee line, I'm going to measure my hip circumference divided by 2 from the center front. So my hip circumference divided by 4, sorry. Hip circumference divided by 4 is 11.5, and I mark. Then I'm going to add 2 inches to it. I'll mark. Then from these 2 inches, I'll also connect another scallop. So this scallop now, I'm taking it straight to meet with this line where the other scallop started. Then whatever I have here, I'm going to take it straight to the hem. So on the hem, I'll also measure my hip circumference divided by 4. I'll add 2 inches to it. The same thing I did on the knee line, I'm going to do on the hem line. So I'll quickly come in with my straight ruler right now and place my ruler straight on that point. So I'm placing my ruler straight on that point, and I'm going to mark a straight line. So I'm marking a straight line from that point to the end, as you can see. So this is it, and I'm going to cut it right now. So I'm going to cut what I have right away. So make sure your fabric does not shift. So I still have my fabric intact before I cut. So I'll go ahead and cut now. I'm also checking it to be sure there's no shift. Okay, so we can cut right now. Everything is in order. So I'm going to cut right away. So I'll start from this part. I'm going to start from this end, and I'm going to cut straight. I'm following the scallop. So once I get to the 3 inches, I'll come from that 3 inches then I'll connect to the second scallop. I'll come and connect to the last line, and then I'll take it down. So you can see what we have for our abaya curve. Can you see that? So from the beginning, you see the scallops, and that is how we are going to sew them. So I'll just come down to the hem, and I'm going to cut the hem. I'm going to cut it straight. So if you're on the big size, you can also cut from here. If you're on the big size, you can add, instead of 2 inches, you can add 3 inches, okay? Or if you want the down part to be very much open, you can even add 4 inches, okay? But for the purpose of this tutorial, I just added 2 inches from that knee line downwards. So that is that, and that is how to go about it. So I'll be placing it right now for you to see the full view. So but before I place it for you to see the full view, I'm going to slant my neckline, okay? So the slanting of the neckline is optional. If you feel like slanting it, you can do that. So the slanting will be at 1.5 inch. I'll mark 1.5 inch. I'll mark. Then I'll place my ruler from here to the tip of the shoulder. So let me just take off my pins so I can slant that part. So from the tip of the shoulder, I'll just make a little slant now. So this is my slant. I'm going to cut it believing you are seeing what I'm doing, so please be careful. So that is my shoulder slant I'm cutting now. So I'll just go ahead and cut my shoulder slant. So I'll go ahead this way and make sure you transfer your marks. Okay, you transfer your marks. So this part I transferred, that was my shoulder measurement. From my shoulder measurement, 10 inches. So I'll go ahead and cut the slant first to that shoulder line. So I've slanted it now, and I'm going to make a notch at this point because that is where the sleeve opening is going to be. So the sleeve opening here is about 7 to 8 inches. Okay, so that is where we are going to pass our sleeve. You can even make it a little more, or 9 inches if you're on a bigger size. So I'll place it now for you to see the full view before we cut the front neckline. Alright, so this is what it looks like right now. This is the full view of the abaya, new or trendy abaya style. So you can see the scallops right there. We have the first one on the waistline, the second on the hip, and the third on the knee line. Okay, so the neckline I've cut for front and back the same. So I'm going to separate the two pieces right now, then we'll cut our desired neckline for the front. I've separated the one piece. Okay, so this is the front neckline. Remember, I cut the back and front together. So now I'm going to take the measurements of the front neckline. So from the tip of the shoulder, I'll cut my front neckline at 7 inches. This is my 7 inches. Okay, sorry, I turned it again to the front. So you have to turn it to the back. So that's my 7 inches, and I'll come in with my pattern ruler. I'm going to connect this neckline from that same 4 inches point. I'm going to mark my line. You can also use a straight ruler, but I just want to use mine. Okay, so let me use the front part of it so I'll be able to get this. So this fabric is actually, is actually shifting. So if you are able to mark it, it's okay, but I'll just use my discretion now and narrow down my cutting. So make sure everything is equal at the edges. So I'll just go ahead and cut the front neckline without wasting time. I'll just go ahead and cut my desired neckline. It's a V neckline, so I've cut it already. Alright, so this is what I have after cutting my V neckline. Can you see? So the next thing I want to do now is to cut what we are going to place on it, which is the scallop. So to cut that the v-yoke design, I'm going to use, I've already cut my half yard of silk. I got myself half yard because that is what you can get for yourself. We don't have less than half a yard. So from the half a yard I have to cut. I cut it. The width is 23 and the height is 18 inches. So 23 by 18 inches, that is what I'm using. So the width of it, I'm placing the width this way, which is 23, and I'll go ahead and place the 23 this way, as you can see. So for me to place this 23 and place it accurately, I'll be folding it by 2. So once I fold it by 2 to get the accurate or equal line, so this is the crease line, and this crease line right now, that is where I'm going to place. I'll make a chalk mark to it, or you can just make any line of your choice, or you can even go over to the ironing table to make a crease line. So you can see that is my center front line. So I'll go ahead and place this at that center. So I will secure it with my pin right now equally. So I've secured it with my pins right now, and I'm going to follow the shape of this neckline. Can you see that? So I've taken it off. So next is to remove it from the pin. I've created the neckline for this. So I'm going to shape or reshape this to that V neckline by folding it into 2 equal parts, making sure the neckline aligns. Okay, so right now I've gone ahead to put the neckline I traced out. Okay, I've put it together, making sure it matches at the center front. So next I'm going to measure 4.5 from here, and I'll mark, and from the top I'm going to measure 14 inches. Okay, so because I'm going to sew in 1/2 inch and fold in 1/2 inch, I'll make it 15. So my 15 inches, take it to this point. So we are going to place our ruler, but if you place your ruler so straight like this, you might have a little shortage here. So this is what I'm going to do before I connect. So since we have 4.5, I'll keep following this neckline at 4.5 and using my hand to mark 4.5 because I want it equal at that point. Then somewhere here I can go ahead and use my ruler to mark it a straight V into that line. So this is what I'm going to do now. I'll just go ahead and cut the following the 4.5. Then from here I can now follow the, this fabric is really, you know, is really shifting. So I'll just go ahead and use my discretion to cut it as a V to that point. So this is what we have right now. So I'll take off my pins and bring back the neckline. So we'll be sewing the neckline right now. So this is the neckline. I just want to demonstrate to you how it's going to look like at the end of the day. So we'll have it this way. Okay, so I'll go to the machine now. I'm going to stitch from here to here. You can see it's actually relaxing exactly the way we cut. So I'll just pin it now, and I'm going to pin it this way. This is how we are going to stitch it. I will turn the back. So I'm going to place the right side. Okay, that is wrong side to wrong side, and stitch. Sorry about that. I'm placing the shiny part, which is the right side, to the wrong side, and that is how I'm going to stitch. So once I stitch and top stitch, I'll give it a good press. So once you turn it this way, you have the front. So let me quickly go and stitch now. So I'll just pin in a way I can sew on top. So I'll go ahead now and stitch. So note that the right shiny side, which is the right side, is facing the wrong side. So I'll quickly pin them all through, stitch and top stitch, and come back. I've gone ahead to stitch. You can see my stitches right now on the V line. So I'm going to make a notch to the V before I top stitch and iron. So I'll just go ahead and make my notch. So after making the notch right now, the next thing is to top stitch. So in top stitching, this is now the front. Okay, just like if you are top stitching your facing, if this is the fabric and this will serve as a lining right now, you are going to flip your seams to the part of the fabric. You can see how I flipped it. This is the facing. I flipped it this way. So once I flip it this way, I'm going to top stitch right on top this way. So I'll quickly do that now. You can see my top stitches. I've neatly top stitched, so all the seams are lying on the part of the fabric now. So that will help me to turn this neckline neatly. So I'll go over to the ironing table now. I'm going to iron this neckline. Okay, I'll iron it very carefully, making sure I still have that V neckline. So I'll quickly do that now. So I've gone ahead and I've turned my neckline, so you can see how neatly finished the inside, that is the back dress is, and this is the facing for the front. So what I did for the front is to fold in the 0.5, okay, and I ironed it with my hemming gun, so it lays nice and flat for me. So this is what the hemming gun looks like. So I just cut tiny pieces of it and folded in, as you can see, and iron out. So next I'm going to do now is to top stitch on top of it. So I will hold it down with my pins right now. I'm pinning in a way I can stitch. So I'll just arrange them this way. So I'll quickly do that and I'll go and sew. I'm done top stitching, and you can see how I pinned right away. So I've top stitched right very close, as you can see. So this is what the back looks like right now. So you can see the top stitching line. So we are done with the front. I'll set it aside with the back neckline now. So I want to create a facing for it. So for my facing, I'm going to take I'm using a square fabric of width of 17 inches by height of 8 inches. So this time around I'm going to place it right side to right side, so by the time we are done sewing, so I'll just go ahead and put and pin, then cut out these parts. I'm cutting my facing at 3 inches, following the neckline right now, as you can see. So I've cut out my facing right now. I'm going to place it right side to right side and then stitch. This is the front. I've ironed it out and given it a good press, and this is the back. So this is the back neckline. I've also ironed it out, as you can see. Okay, so that is the facing. So I'm going to pick it up right now. Here I'll place this to this point this way. I'll use the facing, okay, to turn it around. So I'm going to stitch like this right now. So that's how I'm going to stitch the both of it. So I'm going to close from that point till I get to my notch. So this is my notch. I'll stop at my notch. I'll leave this open, then I'll sew. So let me sew and get to the notch, then I'll close this side. So you can see what I have after I turned it. Okay, I flip it that way I told you and stitched. So our neckline now is ready. So I have to also continue my sewing. I continued my sewing from that point where I told you to flip. Remember, we flipped this to this. So from this point I stopped at my notch. Okay, so this is what I have where my arm is going to pass. Can you see that? So I'll just go ahead now and fold this way. I'll fold it to the end. I'll do that for the rest of. So I left here open. This is the part the arm is going to pass, which is after our 10 inches, about 8 inches. Then once you sew, you have about 7.5. So if you're on the big side, like I said, you can do 9 or even 10 inches. Okay, so I'm making notches on the scallops right now, so it will be easy for me to turn. Okay, thanks for watching once again. Bye.